This is the Wait For It podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wait For It podcast. I am your co-host Phil Barrera, aka Phil the Filipino.
And I'm your other co-host, Mr. Eric Almighty. And we've been given a very special opportunity to screen The Man in the White Van, which is releasing theatrically in the U.S. on December 13th.
Yeah, very exciting. It is based on true events here in 1975 Florida, where a series of violent disappearances go unnoticed. And young Annie, played by Madison Wolfe, is targeted by an ominous white van that stalks her every move. As the menace escalates, her parents dismiss her fears, and Annie is soon plunged into a terrifying nightmare that shatters her world. So before we get started and discuss the film, Warren, we have the director Warren Skeels in here today. A very great opportunity for us to speak to him. Warren, how are you doing today during this holiday season? And if you want to give a moment also to our audience to just introduce yourself.
Sure. When you said, like, if you just want to take a moment, I thought you were saying, I thought you actually say, if you want to start off with a Duval, just start off with a
yeah, hey, by all means. Perfect.
Jacksonville's own.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's own. Oh my God, I can't even talk about that hit on Trevor Lawrence. That's
oh my goodness,
next level. The guy should be out for the whole season, but
that will be the whole episode.
We're actually just going to talk about the fallout from the game.
Right. No. Okay, so back to the movie, right? So I'm from Jacksonville. I went to Douglas Anderson School of the Arts, which I think is really I had an incredible experience there. I know a lot of other people did. There's been a lot of alumni who have gone on to do some really great things, both as educators and working artists. And I think it's just a real treasure that we have here in Jacksonville, kind of something special that we have here. So I went to school here and then went to Southern California afterwards, and I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Acting, and that really kind of became the foundation for me as an artist, moving into filmmaking and as a producer and a screenwriter and ultimately a director. I partnered with Brenda Kolb here at Tiger Lily Media, and back early 2000s, like 2003 or so, and we started Tiger Lily Media together, and then I left and began Skeels Films, primarily focused on entertainment. Tiger Lily is a phenomenal commercial production company. We had a lot of fun making some entertainment product, and she and the team over there, Andrew Fallon, we're all good friends, and they just do exceptional work now, and she's really, they've really grown the company since I left in really cool ways. But I started Skeels Films really to focus on entertainment, and my first project out of the gate was a TV show called Siesta Key. It's on MTV, and you can stream it on Paramount Plus now. And that was, kind of a life-changing career experience, and ended up leading to the opportunity of moving back into scripted and making my directorial debut with this film, The Man in the White Van, which really harkens back to my favorite stuff, the juicy stuff of why I love filmmaking, of making horror, thriller, suspense. That's kind of my sweet spot and what I enjoy watching. So when this story sort of kind of unpacked itself to me from the survivor, it was something that I really wanted to sink my teeth into.
Yeah, and Warren, when we got the screener, we were able to see some of your personal connection towards this story, from a childhood experience to now being a parent yourself. And that helped me be in the right headspace before pressing play. Could you tell our audience a little bit about what went behind your desire when making this film?
I grew up personally as a latchkey kid in Jacks Beach, Florida, and walked and rode my bike back and forth to school, and I experienced being followed by vehicles at times in ways where it just felt strange and awkward and creepy, but at the same time, you just you're a kid, you just don't want that negative attention. And that was something that I really kind of dialed into with the woman who Annie is based on, because she was having the same sort of experience with a white van in 1975, and she was coming of age, and she wasn't quite a young lady yet, but she also and she wasn't quite ready to give up being a kid. And so she was kind of caught between these two worlds, while this man, as predator in a van, was slowly following and targeting her and began stalking her. And so that was something that I really kind of connected with, of just those feelings of not, I think for children, it's like they want positive attention, right? And they really don't want negative attention. So when they have negative attention, the natural sort of tendency, I think, is to sort of avoid it or try to believe that it doesn't really exist, that's not really happening. And I think that's kind of what happens with a lot of victims. And that's really kind of what, dialed me in with that, with this story. But then also now, as a modern parent with children of my own, that's a very different perspective. And today we have, Life 360. I mean, we got our kids on lock, right? We know where they are all the time. And they're a cell phone call away or a text away. We have video cameras and we have security. And of course, we're just completely inundated from mass media with the idea that, you should be fearful of everything, everywhere, all the time. Danger lurks behind every corner. And for me, this period of time in the film back in the 70s was a very different time period where that was not the norm. Mass media, there really wasn't mass media the way there is today, of course. Social media didn't even exist. Internet didn't exist. 911 wasn't in play yet. We didn't have video and security cameras at every corner. And it was a little bit of a, kind of ignorance is bliss. And if you lived in a rural town, there really was, everyone kind of knew everybody, and there wasn't a sense of danger. And when I talked with the detective who was around during that period down in Brooksville, Florida, he just said that, the worst thing that the deputies sort of ever really got into, that the level of crime was just trying to get the town drunk home on a Friday night. So the idea of murder or serial murder, or crimes against young women was really unfathomable to them and unfathomable to the parents in the movie. And that sort of disbelief, not even really a disbelief, but just the idea that it wasn't even in like the slate of possibilities in their mind, and that not being on the that slate of possibilities just ultimately opened up Annie for a tragic nightmare on Halloween.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought up, just the thought process of these small towns, because these things you just did not believe that they would happen. You always hear, because you've mentioned that you are a true crime enthusiast, as am I, and you listen to a lot of quotes and they say, I just didn't see anything like this happening here. Like, this is something that happens in a big city, So this case itself has been subject of numerous true crime podcasts. And as I mentioned, as a self-professed true crime enthusiast, how did your passion for the genre kind of influence the decisions you made while making the film?
Good question. First off, the point of view of the story, knowing that it was a personal story that came to me in a personal tie. Sharon, the co-writer, and I really just wanted to tell that with as much authenticity as we could. And what I found also as an interesting perspective was that unique perspective from the victim. So this was a sort of a story that involved a serial killer, but it wasn't a serial killer story. The story is the survivor. The story is the victim. And rooting it in her perspective was the most significant sort of light that we really wanted to kind of guide us through the narrative of the film and the story. Because most serial killer stories are, it's either MO about the serial killer or about a detective or a journalist, tracking down their guy. And while that's fascinating and interesting, and I love a lot of the stories, the Zodiac killer being, one of them, just having that perspective from the victim and what she saw versus what we might see from as an outsider, kind of from like a dramatic irony standpoint, is interesting. But to me, it wasn't going to ground us with Annie. So when we're living in her world, we're seeing everything basically from her point of view in that narrative.
Yeah, and Warren, when it comes down to it, obviously you have an amazing cast here. Madison Wolfe, delivered a standout performance in your film, but you have an outstanding cast as well. Sean Astin, Allie Carter, Breck Bassinger. It feels like I'm at the Oscars. I'm only naming a few. That's really crucial to this story because we invest a lot of time with the family, and I'm curious for you, what was your reaction to forming such a strong cast, and how did it feel seeing that play out through the filming process?
So first off, Allie Larder and Sean Astin were just absolutely incredible to work with. They had such a, they came on board as executive producers of the film and wanted to make sure that this film got made and got out there. And just having sort of that level of commitment to the film, it was humbling. And then the fact that they were lending their acting talents to the film as well, in roles that are, they're the parents, they're the disbelieving parents, and it'd really be easy to kind of look over them, but they play a significant role in why it is that things escalate as much as they do. And Allie is, she's so wickedly talented. Sean Astin is, he's a cinematic legend, right? It's Lord of the Rings and Rudy and Goonies. It was one of my favorite movies growing up. So there was actually a fun afternoon with the leads, Madison and Breck, who play the kind of two female leads in the film, the sisters. They had never seen the Goonies, and we had all got together on an off day from filming, and Allie had us over at her Airbnb, and she was cooking steaks, and she had some wine, and that she was starting a wine industry thing. So she was like, "Oh, taste this wine, and here's some steaks to go along with it." And we were also having a fun kind of, it was like a family dinner, right? And I asked the girls if they'd ever seen Goonies, and they said no. And Sean was going through Netflix for stuff, and he was like, and he ended up just well, here, and just put it on Goonies. So we're having dinner, Goonies is playing on the background, and Sean ends up going through this whole, it was almost like Mystery Science Theater 3000. He was just going through and telling us all the different behind the scenes stories and the making of Goonies. And, for me, it was just incredible. And I think for the girls, they didn't know half the people he was talking about, but I think they had some appreciation. But for me personally, it was definitely an experience I'll remember.
Yeah, that's really cool. I am also in the boat of having never seen the Goonies. So if you do have another Airbnb watch party, please let me know here in Jacksonville. I will gladly attend. But Warren, as we kind of wrap up and we get to our final question here, we know we got a busy day here today. I just want to know what the journey has been like for you leading up to the film's theatrical release. You've had all the traveling to premieres, exciting events like San Diego Comic-Con, interviews such as this one, preparations. How are you and your family feeling about this moment? And with The Man in the White Van hitting theaters on December 13th, what's next for you as audiences get ready to experience it?
It's been a pretty fascinating journey, I'd say. Once you finish the film, you're just done, and you really kind of want to just sort of sit back and whatever an audience's experience is going to be is what it's going to be. You really can't change how someone's going to react to it, positive or negative. You always hope it has the intended reaction to it. I hope that's just a thrill ride for them. But going to Comic-Con, all of these are sort of firsts. So it's just been a blast, being able to go to Comic-Con and have that experience. I'd never been to Comic-Con before. So that was just a really unique time. And then, gearing up now to go on this kind of 6-city tour with the film, starting off, kicking off in Jacksonville tonight. I'm thrilled. Any chance you can get to show your, from a filmmaking basis, anytime you can get a chance to show something that you've created and be able to talk about it and answer questions and maybe stir some questions and a conversation about a topic like this, I think is a good thing. So I'm looking forward very much to that, and looking forward to the 13th and an audience hopefully wrapping their arms around this film and spreading the word. And then after that, I actually have a suspense thriller, supernatural suspense thriller that the writer of The Man in the White Van and Sharon Cobb and I together have co-written, and we're sort of looking forward to developing that. It should be a tasty treat for audiences.
Awesome, Warren. Well, we really appreciate you jumping on. Again, I know Phil mentioned it. You got a lot going on, including the time of this recording. I believe that premiere here in Jacksonville. We love to see Jacksonville's own have success, and we're going to be supporting you 110%. So join us in that support, whether you're listening or watching at home. Everything you need to know about the Wait For It podcast and the Man in the White Van is going to be linked in the show notes of this episode. Make sure to get your tickets. Its official release in theaters, again, is Friday, December 13th. And then once you do that, all you have to do is wait for it.
This is the Wait For It podcast.